Hello, friends. Nice to be with you. I hope you're doing well. I set out a little question before I went live on YouTube, and just invited you to reflect on, what's coming up for you, and are there particular things that you'd like to bring up, particular things that you'd like to have addressed in the teachings. So you can, we'll have some time at the end of the session as well to bring up questions or comments, or to reflect on what's supporting you in your confinement, in this time of confinement, or this time of separation, distancing, and so on. So, what are you finding most challenging, and what is supporting you? Are there particular things that are coming up for you as obstacles? Are you finding that you're able to create the structure in your life that supports a regular practice? That's one thing that I'm finding is really supporting me, and is important, that I've discovered is important. As less, I have fewer fixed obligations. I still have things that I'm doing and involved in, but I don't have as many fixed time commitments in time, and I am finding that having a structure to my day is very helpful to give me the sense that I'm, to experience that I'm doing the things that are going to ground me and help me stay centered, and help me stay balanced. So I think that's one thing that practice can do. And it can also be, this can also be a time of deepening. I've mentioned a couple of times in different contexts that these this particular time is in a way like a long retreat, and it's a kind of a self-retreat, and yet at the same time we're very involved with family, and perhaps by Zoom, and or perhaps living in the same space as we are, and we're involved with maybe different ways that we're supporting ourselves. Could be doing meditation online. It could be doing Zumba online, or yoga, or reading. So there are lots of things that we're doing, and at the same time, it may feel very kind of amorphous, the shape of our day, if we're not essential workers, or if we haven't kind of made commitments in different ways. The day might be feeling very amorphous, and that may or may not be supportive to you. It's for you to discover. It might be, if your day was highly structured all the time, that the less, having less shape, having less kind of framework where everything is slotted in, that might feel like a real relief. It might be great. For me, I'm finding that there really is a time of kind of deepening and feeling my heart, and my body and my heart and mind are quite sensitive to what is what is supportive to my well-being and what is not. And so I'm paying attention to that. I'm really trying to honor the wisdom of my body and my heart that tell me, it's time now to get off the internet, or it's time to rest. I didn't actually hear the interview. I was listening to CBC Sunday morning, or the Sunday morning, I think it's called, Sunday Morning Edition with Michael Enright, which I really enjoy him as an interviewer. I think he's very profound and astute, and really love to listen to him. And he told me, he announced, he told me personally, he announced an upcoming interview, which I think I was heading toward my Sunday Sangha, so I didn't listen to it. But it was with a philosopher. And this philosopher apparently was going to explore why we might be feeling more tired these days. And he said, you might be experiencing moral fatigue. So I'm going to listen to the podcast eventually, and maybe you might look it up as well if you're curious. But it intrigued me, just the implication to be experiencing moral fatigue. And that to me meant, I could be on a completely different wavelength than this philosopher, but to me it implied that somehow we're carrying the suffering, we're carrying the weight, we're carrying the intensity and the rapidity of change that so many people are experiencing. We're carrying the loss that people are experiencing around us, and that we are experiencing, the loss of our everyday lives. I was listening to another radio station, and they were CKUT, and they were playing. They had a folk hour, and there was the song. I don't know who the singer was, and the refrain was, "I'm just wishing for an ordinary day," and I think it was a well chosen song. We might find ourselves just wishing for an ordinary day, and feeling the loss of that, those ordinary interactions with friends, with neighbors, with strangers, just saying hi and getting into conversations. Although I do that some, but mostly we're just keeping our distance and smiling most of the time. So let's stay tuned into our hearts. It's the best way to digest, to continue to digest what we're experiencing. Not turning away, although it's as the Zen saying goes, not always so. Sometimes it's good to distract ourselves. Sometimes it's good to listen to music. Sometimes it's good to kind of change the channel, and just find something pleasant to enjoy. So I'm just looking at the live chat. People just expressing appreciation for the time to be together in virtual space, this virtual gathering. So yeah, I totally appreciate it as well. I wish that it were more back and forth, but but we can make some time for exchange after. So I think we'll move into practice, and we'll sit for 30 minutes. I'll offer guided meditation, and then, at the end we'll have some time for some reflection or for some for some questions about practice. So please take a position for meditation. Please take a posture which feels supportive to alertness and relaxation. So there's a balance that we find in our practice of being energized. Energy is one of the meditation factors. So we want to be energized, and we also want to relax the body and relax the mind. So a posture that's conducive to meditation is balanced and stable and comfortable. So it's not that you should be striving in your posture. It's really important to be comfortable in your meditation posture. It should be a posture that you can hold with not too much difficulty. It might be a little bit of as you sit, over the course of 30 minutes, you might have some tightness, or you might have some achiness, but nothing extreme. So really, and nobody's watching, so just let that whole thing go. If you're trying to meditate, up to a certain standard, just you can smile at yourself for that, and just let it go. And if lying down on the floor with your spine straight, either on your back, maybe with a pillow under your knees, maybe with a little pillow, a shallow pillow under your head, that can sometimes be helpful, or on your side, with one hand under your head and the other hand along your side. That can be a good posture. Sitting in a chair or on a bench, or with your legs crossed, or just folded in front of you with your lower legs parallel. So those are all good postures. And the back straight. So balanced, stable, and easeful and alert. And let's, as we begin this practice, just make an intention, a commitment to really bring our full attention to this practice. We've come here to nourish ourselves, to ground ourselves in wisdom, in our practice, and so so let's make that commitment to make really good use of this time. Of course, without being judgmental. If the mind wanders, of course, but then bringing that energy, bringing that commitment to come back and begin again, without self-judgment, but with an ongoing intention, calling forth that intention again and again to practice. So, and so we can also, as we begin our practice, we can bring to mind, like we can be practicing not only with those who are gathered here in this time, but also with the larger Sangha, with a sense of those with whom we share these practices for awakening, different traditions of Buddhism, different spiritual practices, and with with all of humanity, just our our siblings. The Buddha said we're siblings in birth, aging, illness, and death, and so having a sense of doing this practice for our own benefit, for our own welfare and well-being, and for the well-being and benefit of others as well. And of course, all beings everywhere, non-human beings, and the earth, Mother Earth herself, who supports us in our lives in so many ways that we don't even know about. How Mother Earth nourishes us. So we're doing this, and sometimes when I practice metta, or when I dedicate my practice, I just visualize, the beautiful blue planet here in my heart, and so we can maybe have that sense of just having the earth here right in our hearts, and that we're practicing for the benefit of all. So let's feel the body sitting on the earth, supported by the earth, and we can relax into that support that the earth gives us. Feeling the posture balanced and upright. And as we begin, we might bring an intentionality to our breathing. For the first few breaths, we might find ourselves breathing a bit longer and deeper. And as we breathe out, there may be a sense of just releasing, letting go. And we can use the breath as a way of collecting our attention, collecting the scattered mind, collecting the fragmented, busy, restless mind. So let the breath be like, an image that I sometimes have is the way, a magnet kind of collects little metal filings, on a table, when you put it on a table with metal filings. I don't know if you did that experiment when you were a kid. But it just kind of collects everything, collects around the magnet, and let the breath kind of call in the energy of the mind and the restless energy of the body to gather and to collect and to become more calm. And if you find that your mind is kind of spinning off, going off in some direction, just with those longer breaths, just call the attention back to being present in the breath, being interested and curious about this breath. A way of staying curious about the breath might be noticing where you feel the breath. And it might be in different places for different parts of the breath. So you might notice where you feel the beginning of the in-breath. Where do you feel it most easily? Not necessarily directing your attention, but just allowing your mind to connect, your attention to connect with where you're feeling it. And where do you feel the middle? And where do you feel the end of the in-breath? And what is the experience like of the in-breath turning into an out-breath? Do you feel a pause, or is it a kind of a seamless turning? And the beginning of the out-breath may feel very different from the beginning of the in-breath. It might be more, I find it more kind of dispersed in where I feel it in the body, but it might be different for you. And where and how do you feel the middle and the end of the out-breath? And how do you experience that space at the end of the out-breath before the next in-breath begins? You could practice just resting for a moment in that space where there's no coming and going at that moment before the next in-breath begins. Kind of a stillness. Letting the breath just rise and fall naturally, the body breathing itself. Bring an attitude of resting in the breath. Notice if there's a striving or a kind of some kind of drivenness or desperation. See if you can soften around that. Just relax around that. And relax into the breathing. Letting your mindfulness just open into the breath and the awareness of the breath, the experience of the breath. If you find that your attention is becoming more collected, relatively more collected, I invite you to explore bringing your focus of mindfulness to the whole body. So still feeling the breath kind of in the background or the periphery, and shifting the focus to feel the whole body, the body sitting or the body lying down, the shape of the body, how the body is configured right now with the posture the body's in, and also the inner sense, the inner experience of the body, the energetic sense of the body, the sensations in the body. Just having a sense of that mindfulness is just filling the whole body. It may be that certain parts of the body come more into a kind of a bright awareness, and other parts may feel more in shadow, and that's normal and fine. And certain parts of the body may feel pleasant, and others may feel neutral or even numb or slightly unpleasant or very unpleasant. And all of that is normal. So just, if you like, I invite you to explore opening your mindful awareness to be present in the whole body, and to experience the breath, still feeling the breath rising and falling, but not narrowing the focus on the breath as much, feeling it more in the background or periphery. And often when we bring our attention to the whole body, we may notice if the body feels anxious or tense or contracted in some other way, maybe with frustration or anger or wanting or grief. And so in that space of mindfulness of the body, with kindness and gentleness, we can invite those energies to relax, not pushing them away or in any way rejecting them. And we may find that as we give them space, they release maybe just a little bit, or maybe they release, they shift. And more calmness in the body, more sense of relaxation in the body develops. And this releasing of the contraction in the body allows us to be more present, allows us to be more fully open and attentive and alive. The contraction is a way that we close down. And as we become aware of the contraction and bring mindfulness to it, and it naturally lets go in the presence of mindfulness, perhaps gradually, this opens us up, opens our heart, opens our minds, opens our whole being more to be more fully alive, more fully present. So for the next 5 minutes or so, I invite you to explore this mindfulness in the whole body. In the discourse on mindfulness of the body, the Buddha uses the image of the body filled with bright attention. The whole body filled with bright attention. And a teacher that I've practiced with said, the whole body, front to back, side to side, top to bottom, filled with bright attention. So explore that without in any way striving or being perfectionist. Discover what that exploration is like for you. To be mindful in the body. And as we bring the sitting to a conclusion, let's extend metta, loving kindness, friendship, goodwill in all directions. In the Metta Sutta, the Buddha lists just many, many different kinds of people that we can wish well to, and he lists different kinds of characteristics: people who are great and mighty, and those who are humble, of humble circumstance, those who are large, and those who are tall, and those who are small or medium, and we can, those who are wealthy, those who are poor, we can bring many, many different kinds of ideas of the rainbow of diversity to our mind, of different kinds kinds of human beings, people of different skin color, different language, different religious background, different sexual orientation and gender identity. And we can also bring to mind those who perhaps are most vulnerable at this time, people who maybe are living in more crowded circumstances, or less able to just go to the grocery store once a week because they don't have the financial resources. So we can bring to mind many, many different people in different circumstances, and people who are old and people who are very young, people who have compromised immune systems. So wishing all beings well, all human beings, all beings of all kinds, human and non-human, visible and invisible, those who are being born and those who are dying. May all beings be well. May all beings have what they need. May all beings be safe and protected from harm. And may all beings be free. And may our life and our practice serve the happiness, well-being, and liberation of all beings. Hi, Helen. Nice to see you here. Just looking at the live chat. Somebody brought up a question about the quote that Pascal spoke on yesterday. Not apart from relinquishing all do I see any safety for beings. So that's a statement of deep wisdom. Because where there's clinging of any kind, even the subtlest clinging, it creates greed, hatred, and delusion. The clinging itself comes from a wrong view, a misperception that we think that somehow we are apart, that we have a separate, independent, and kind of a permanent existence apart from the rest of life. Of course, we see that so strongly contradicted in the current pandemic, the way that this is such a global experience. I think that one of the things that I was thinking of reflecting on today is the non-self nature of the learning, the deep learning that is afforded at this moment as an opportunity to, or the opportunity for learning and insight into anatta, non-self, and so we tend to believe that we construct our lives, and we tend to believe that we make choices for our lives. Not that choices are not made; choices are made, and we don't always get the outcome that we're choosing, or we're wanting, that we think that we're deciding for. And when something like a global pandemic comes along and really pulls the rug out from under our sense of our individual, separate, and self-chosen lives, it's an opportunity to reflect on non-self, and it's not a cause for despair. On the contrary, I think it really deepens the way that we live when we realize that we can choose to bring the best of who we are, the best of our heart, the best of our intentions, the best of our wisdom to each moment, to respond and to offer the good as into life's unfolding. And we're not in control of the outcome. And this is a really profound learning. So I'd be interested in hearing if anybody has been reflecting on anatta, non-self, and or impermanence, which they're very interconnected, and or dukkha, or suffering. These are the Buddha taught that these are the characteristics that are present in every moment of life's experience. So in every moment of feeling, of thinking, of sensing, there is anatta, anicca, impermanence, and dukkha. So I've been really seeing it very, very clearly, and really kind of energized by the opportunity to practice with it. So yeah, there is so So resistance arises. Somebody just mentioned a resistance. So resistance arises, and so what is resistance? It's so maybe explore within yourself. What is resistance? When I feel resistance, what is that? When I feel resistance around not accepting that things are as they are, or this is what's happening right now, and this is different in each moment and different for many people. Everybody has their own moment of this is what's happening in this moment and the next moment and so on. This is what's happening right now. And the resistance is in some way closing down to that. And so resistance can be an obstacle when we're at the effect of resistance. It can be an obstacle to us responding, because what we'd like to do is, from the depth of our wisdom, and every one of us here, listening to this, and who will listen to this, and who isn't listening to this, and will never listen to this, every one of us has wisdom. Every one of us has compassion. And so we want to respond from the depths of our wisdom and compassion in each moment. And when resistance comes up, there's a kind of a shutting down, a denial of saying, I don't want this. And again, it's, we don't want to resist the resistance and judge the resistance, but to recognize just, okay, there's this resistance, there's this closing down energy, there's this not wanting things to be as they are. That's all it is just not wanting things to be as they are. But that doesn't stop things from being as they are. Things are as they are. And then in the next moment, we can respond. And that might bring something else into the moving picture, into the moving, unfolding kaleidoscope, or the soup, or the stew, or whatever image you want to use for the unfolding conditions of life. And so your bringing the best of who you are in each moment is adding something important. And what enables us to do that is to be open-hearted, and to be open-minded to what is unfolding. To reflect on it, also to reflect wisely. It doesn't mean that we don't use our minds, that we don't, talk to each other or reflect on what's going on. And we might think that some of the ways that society or the government or individuals are responding to this emergency is wise and skillful. We might think that some of it is unskillful, and we might think that some of it is unbalanced, or that some people are not being supported, or not being seen. So just another comment about this, the sentence, things being what they are. That's one thing, but things unfolding as they will, well, that's another, because there's a certain, I think I'm hearing a certain kind of fatalism in that, or determinism, like things unfold as they will, because there's no determined outcome. And I think in a very ordinary way, we're hearing that a lot from people, like how, just in terms of the COVID-19, how this goes, whether there'll be 40,000 deaths or 4,000 deaths really depends on our behavior to a large degree. I mean, not obviously, it's not said with a kind of an attitude of accusation, but it's an encouragement to really try to do our best to protect ourselves and thereby protect others. So there's no determinism. It's an opening to being present with things as they are, an open-heartedness, and an open-heartedness to the larger being, the larger collectivity, the larger interconnected reality, interbeing, as Thich Nhat Hanh said, that we all are together. So thank you very much for being present and for practicing together. I encourage you to stay tuned in to the True North Insight offerings and to use them as you see fit to support your practice, and by coming and practicing together, it supports your practice, but you're also supporting others, because we all benefit from just gathering together like this. So be well, and I send love and goodwill and my best wishes for your safety and well-being. Oh, and just one more thought I forgot to mention. So if you, to the extent that you are able and that you feel moved to do so, please consider making a donation to support my livelihood and also to support the ongoing offerings, Dharma offerings of True North Insight. And there's information below the screen on how to do that. Thanks very much.